I've been on Universal Credit since it first came to South Craven, and basically from the word go, I was struggling with my finances. I knew I had to ask how I could get some finances when I first went on to the Universal Credit, and I was told that I could have an advance payment. So I thought, great. But then I didn't realise that my first payment, that they were going to start taking £47 off me a month.
To pay back? You had to pay back the advanced.
But also, I was in a private tenancy as well. And so I was getting the 317 plus the 350 housing element. And with it being a private landlord, it was just over £400 a month for my rent. And the top rate for the housing element was £350.
You weren't getting enough to pay your rent.
So yet again, I was having to find £50 out of the 317, but of course having £47 taken as well for the advance payment, and having to find £50 towards my rent. It became impossible to afford gas, electric, water, council tax. And at that point, I didn't actually know about the food bank. So I was struggling to eat as well. And I just got to a point where I knew that my next month's rent wasn't going to be possible. It just kept on catching up with me. So at any little bit I had left from each month, gradually I got to a point where I knew I couldn't afford my rent for the next month. So I told my landlord that I couldn't afford my rent, being an honest person. And he then told me that I had a month to leave. I panicked. It's like, I'm going to be homeless. What am I meant to do?
So you were living in a private rented accommodation?
Yeah, in Sutton in Craven.
Cost of Universal Credit. You couldn't afford it anymore?
No, that's correct. I was homeless, and it was, a really scary situation, because I never thought that I would end up homeless. You sort of like look at life and think it won't happen to me, and it was devastating.
Now you are staying in temporary accommodation in Skipton.
That's correct. Yeah.
So are you still sort of getting food parcels from here?
Yes, I'm still getting food parcels. Again, even though I'm in temporary accommodation, I pay a service charge of £20 a week, which is, a lot less than what most people are paying who are out there living on UC, on Universal Credit. And I still find I'm struggling, even when I'm paying £20 a week for all of my utilities. So I'm still having to get the food parcels. I may be able to get like a minimum, when I'm like, go to Morrison's or Tesco's at the end of the day when there's like really cheap stuff going. I can't afford a TV licence, and that's in temporary accommodation. So it's like, if I can only just and sometimes not make ends meet in a homeless temporary accommodation, how about the people who are living out in the community in their own rented accommodation? How are they meant to afford this? I've already been made homeless, through living in rented accommodation, so I'm now in temporary and still struggling to make ends meet on Universal Credit.
So you see no way of being able to get back to a position where you're in your own place, you're in rented accommodation?
No, it's impossible. It's not.
Do you mind if I ask you how much you get from Universal Credit?
317. Yeah, I've stopped paying the money that I owed back, thank goodness. It's taken years, since Universal Credit started in the Craven area. It's taken me 2 years near enough to pay it all back.
What was it like? I can't begin to imagine what it is like. It's such a horrible question, but as you say, to become homeless, to have to ask for help and having to rely on other people. What is that like? Is there an element of just how difficult?
For me personally, very scary, because I've always been quite a shy person, and my confidence hasn't always been high, and my self-esteem. Also, asking for help, it's something that, it's scary, And I think sometimes you can be scared of people saying no, and it can stop you from asking. But when you're when you're really
at your lowest,
sometimes that's the only thing you can do.
Where do you think you would be without the community here at the church, or without the food bank, or without that help?
Oh, wow. I mean, up until moving into temporary accommodation, I didn't know about any of this. Any of it. You know, it's like I didn't know anything. I didn't know about the food banks. I didn't know about how to get any help about anything. I didn't know who to talk to about how to manage my rent, or if there's any help out there to help with my rent. And I think there just isn't enough information there. Universal Credit could have, or should be giving advice to people, I feel anyway, about the food banks, about where you can get help. Or there should be more information on the leaflets. I don't know.
Yeah, but you certainly didn't know where to...
I didn't know where to turn at all. And, I found Skipton Baptist Church, the food bank, the people within the Baptist Church are just so kind and helpful, and they watch over me, and they always make sure that I've got some food, and I know I can just ask.
So how do you feel about the future now, having found this place?
There's like a little orange light, a bright light. I can only see it getting better now.